my own giant robot, I am now the luckiest kid in America. Banzai!
This movie is a movie about how a single man in a position of power is so terrified of a giant thing that he's gonna nuke a city to stop the giant thing. I don't know what this is a metaphor. Bomb Squad Matinee, baby. Here we are. I'm Tanner Richard Kraft. And
I'm
with
Rein
me I have
Rein Conversi again.
Hi, Kent Mansley. I work with the government.
Very Reagan era bullshit to have the villain of the movie introduce himself constantly by saying I work for the government. Very Reaganite shit, which, considering the rumors that Brad Bird has long flirted with Ayn Randian ideology, take that from I can't talk today. Take from that what you will. But Brad Bird, Ayn Rand, we're talking about The Iron Giant today. Potentially my favorite animated movie of all time, and I'm sure we're in a call full of people who love it. But before we talk about The Iron Giant, I thought a fun warm-up question would be, what's your favorite movie about a boy and his weird creature friend? The Iron Giant is a great example of this common trope we see in media. One of the most famous examples, other than this being a boy and his blob, I guess. Just throwing out an example out there. But for the warm-up question, we're going to ask what's your favorite or what's just a good one. Rein, we'll start with you.
So clearly, I feel like I have to say, I'm fighting the urge to say the script I wrote. I wrote a feature script that's kind of like the.
Oh, you did do
this?
Yeah. I forgot
you
you wrote a script that's just this trope.
Yeah,
it's not just I know, it's this trope, but.
Yeah, no, I know. No, it's a fun trope. It was basically about like a weird kid, dumb kid, and Cerberus, they get in adventures or whatever. But no, that's not. I mean, that's not even an actual movie. It's just a script. And also, I'm not that much of a narcissist. But so like my actual answer is Iron Giant. But to be fun, I was trying to think of like what would the next best thing would be, and I was like, I guess Bumblebee, which is just like Iron Giant but less good. Like it's a good
live
movie.
Action Iron Giant.
Yeah, but like I think if I had to go with a movie like I actually in this subgenre that I actually love, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I would maybe go with Spike Jonze's Where the Wild Things Are. Now it's multiple big weird creature friends, so I get it's a bit of a stretch, but I love it's the only movie I could think of in this field that I love near arguably as much as Iron Giant. Yeah, it's a great movie. I haven't seen it in forever, but amazing movie. Kind of a great adventure. A lot of I think a really important thing for this genre is stories where like you really get a lot out of it through the kid character, as well as the the weird creature character, in this case plural. And I thought I was gonna have more to say because it's a movie I do love a lot, from a director I love a lot. But it's I think something really noteworthy about that movie is that it's probably it's one of the most like emotionally mature kid movies I think I've seen. But I think so when I tried writing notes for this time. It's been a while since I've done that. And then my notes were like the presence of multiple creatures makes this a fundamentally different dynamic than other movies in this hyper specific subgenre. But and then I didn't write anything else after but because I was like I'll get around to it later.
We've all been there.
But it's a great movie.
Rein, I love you so much.
I'm gonna thank you. Back to you, Tanner.
See, this is why I don't do notes half the time, because if I do notes, but if I do them, if there's ever a time where I don't finish them in time, it's gonna completely fuck me up if I try to improvise after the cutoff, because then I'll be like, I don't think there are ever been any more thoughts in my brain after this. I think it's over for now, boys. But a good answer. Where the Wild Things Are, I think definitely fits into the subgenre. if this is even really a subgenre and more just a common media trope. But Tim, well, how about your favorite boy and his weird creature? I don't like that phrasing. And we're going with it.
So my pick for this is a movie about two siblings and their monster, and that is PG, Psycho Goreman. This is a little creature feature horror comedy thing from a few years ago, where a couple kids summon a demon. He gets into some shenanigans. It's a fun time. There's lots of fun little monster designs, lots of fun humor. There's a scene where the girl shows him a magazine of hunky boys, and he goes, "I do not care for hunky boys." And then he looks at it and goes, "Or do I?" Some real good humor in there. But in all seriousness, though, my real favorite movie about a boy and his monster is HBO's The Penguin. Back to you, Tanner.
I hate you.
I love you too.
Despite this being a very common, like, it's such a common trope, like, we can immediately envision it. The boy and his alien friend, right? We can immediately envision it. It's actually kind of difficult to name very specific movies that fall into this trope. There's a bunch of examples that kind of fit, but it can be really difficult, other than saying the obvious one, The Iron Giant. But we can't do that because that's the movie we're talking about today. So it's kind of difficult. You kind of hem and haw, and you think, what movies are there about a boy and his strange creature friend? A boy that loves his strange creature friend so much. What movies are there about a boy? Anyway, my answer is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, because duh, of course my answer is E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I'm pretending to hem and haw here, but it's fucking E.T. Come on. I still ultimately like The Iron Giant more, but E.T. pretty damn close if you ask me.
It's a good picture.
Lot of killing. Not that much killing.
I've not seen it since I was like 7 maybe, so I cannot speak on it.
Same. I've watched
you were in it.
I watched that one time as a kid when I was sick. I need to go back to it. Like, I've been wanting to revisit the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but I don't want to rewatch Rise of Skywalker, so my new play is Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, E.T. I think that is chronologically the order in which those take place.
Well, E.T. is Star Wars canon, because the fact you see him in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And if Star Wars takes place a long time ago, and E.T. takes place in the 1980s, which is also a long time ago, to be fair.
Well, it takes place a long time ago since 1977. So you have to factor that in there. So it's a long time ago since at least 1977.
Well, you also have to factor in that Star Wars actually happened to George Lucas. That's worth remembering.
That happened to him and his buddy Eric.
It happened. George Lucas is like, Star Wars is a biopic about George Lucas.
It's like poetry.
Yeah, it's E.T. You guys should rewatch E.T. It holds up as an adult. I loved that as a kid. However, for some reason, the memory I most commonly associate with E.T. is the time that we were walking into my elementary school library to watch E.T., and right as I was about to sit down, I almost fainted for no reason. I didn't actually faint, but I almost did. I could tell I almost did because I started to fall over. Everything started going like, you know how some people say when you're dying, there's a white light, or if you pass out, it's a big black light? I saw a big gray light.
I think that means
all I could see was gray.
I think that means the ET finger gave you cancer.
That I think I later found out that maybe I was suffering from a brief iron deficiency at the time. That's my best theory as to why that happened. But yeah, before watching ET in school, I almost fainted. Make of that what you will. But you know what movie I didn't almost faint before watching for the first time? That's right, The Iron Giant, the movie we're talking about today.
There are two kinds of metal in this yard, scrap and art. If you gotta eat one of them, eat the scrap. What you currently have in your mouth is art!
We're just gonna get right into it. Tim, when you rated it on Letterboxd today, it earned a rare 5-star rating from Mr. Sullivan. So,
That's right.
Tim, tell us why you love The Iron Giant.
So, this movie came out in 1999, right? I was 6 years old. I was the perfect age to go see this movie in the theater when it came out and fall in love with it and swear by it my whole life. So I watched it when I was 18, because
Good.
they didn't fucking market this thing. I'm gonna get back to that later. But yeah, The Iron Giant, when I finally was able to watch it, absolutely adored it. It's just a fantastic animated film with fantastic characters. Perhaps career best performances from Vin Diesel and Jennifer Aniston, if I'm being honest. It's just a great movie. It's generally considered by many to be like the pinnacle of animated films, or at least of Western animated films, and I'm hard pressed to disagree. It's just so incredible, especially when you learn about the uphill battle it was to get this movie made. It's an incredible work of art, and we mentioned this. It's Brad Bird's debut film, and Brad Bird is an interesting director. He hasn't made a whole lot of movies, but he's made some really remarkable movies. He made two of Pixar's more interesting movies with The Incredibles and Ratatouille. The first Incredibles movie, I would honestly say, is probably my favorite Pixar movie. Incredibles 2 is not as good, but I still enjoyed. I know there was some production bullshit that happened with that one. But it was still an enjoyable enough time. For the longest time, my blind spot with him was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, but I finally watched that last year, and I can confirm this is a good picture. Good picture where Tom Cruise climbs up the Burj Khalifa. I think it's fair to say his worst movie is Tomorrowland, but even that is still pretty okay. Like, it's an enjoyable enough time. So like, even at his worst, Brad Bird is still making pretty good stuff. And this movie, his first movie, might be his masterpiece. And again, it was a crazy uphill battle to get it made. And it's a very personal movie to him, because a few years before he made it, his sister was killed by her husband. He shot her. And so he decided to, take this sort of adaptation they were planning at Warner Brothers and go, what if instead of this giant robot musical thing, it was about a gun who didn't want to be a gun? And everybody, eventually kind of grew to fall in love with that premise. And you can tell that there was a lot of passion put into it from everybody involved. Keep in mind, too, this was like all inexperienced people working on this. And then finally finished the movie, and like 4 months before release, there's still not like a trailer or planned release date or anything. Warner Brothers just completely shit the bed on marketing this thing, because Quest for Camelot was supposed to be their big success, but that fucking tanked.
Fucking forgot about that movie. Jesus.
Yeah, that was their foray into animated features, and they wanted it to be a big success, and it made barely over half its budget back.
Incredible. Oh my god, that's a fucking picture right there. Jesus.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, but I do have this action figure that Ethan got me. He bears a striking resemblance. Yeah.
Oh my god, he does. Especially when your hair was like red still.
Yeah. I had to get the King Arthur, the King Tim Arthur action figure in there. But yeah, that flopped. So Warner Brothers just kind of was like, okay, so maybe this animated movies thing ain't it, I don't know. And they're kind of doing that again with Zaslav, I don't know. But yeah, they shit the bed on marketing this, and it was just sort of a thing of like all the critics were like, man, this is an amazing movie. It's too bad nobody's watching it. But I'm glad that it was able to get its second life on home video. Another one of those tales of a movie that just bombed in theaters, but grew to be beloved, and that's why we're talking about it here today. Iron Giant, movie great. Back to you, Tanner.
Great stuff. I'm glad you brought up the Brad Bird's inspiration for making the movie, his sister becoming a victim of gun violence. I'm going to touch a lot on that in my thoughts on the movie, but I do want to briefly touch upon that now and just say I always thought, especially when you research the movie more, I always thought it was fascinating that Brad Bird's motivations for making the film sort of paralleled the author Ted Hughes's motivations for writing the book that this is based on in the first place, which the novel is called The Iron Man.
Yeah.
The author of the novel, Ted Hughes, actually wrote the book as a means of comforting his children after their mother committed suicide. Their mother being Sylvia Plath.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of people know that one, I don't think. And I think it's interesting that this story is such a, especially since it's such a tribute to a mother at its core, the Jennifer Aniston character, how much this seems to be the motivation for making this story both times was at least in relation to a mother in that case. I don't know if Brad Bird's sister had any children, but that sort of maternal figure. Rein, why do you like The Iron Giant? This is your first podcast in months, so you better make it good, buddy.
Well, before I read my disorganized notes, incomplete notes I made, let me say, holy shit, I did not know anything about. I knew the movie didn't do well. I did not know only 4 months, like before, like in between, like that is insane. I knew it bombed. I knew Warner Brothers did not put much faith into it, box office wise, but geez, and then also even 10 times more geez is I did not know Brad Bird's story behind it. I probably know the least about the director between the three of us. I know he makes most he mostly makes good movies, and he's probably a little bit of an Ayn Rand fan. That's about it as my knowledge of him goes. I had no clue about that story, along with the I didn't even know. I think I did remember hearing a passing like ages ago that this was based on a book, but I definitely didn't know the backstory behind that book. But yeah, no, a gun that doesn't want to be a gun. That is like a perfect, that really is like a great like thesis statement to, this movie. That's really, man, I'm sad, but like, okay, anyway, thoughts on the movie. It does feel weird to praise an actor when they've who only like says like just a few words at a time ever throughout a performance, but Vin Diesel really
Groot.
But yeah, no, clearly, you know, this and the Guardians movies prove Vin Diesel, obviously he's not, obviously sounds really mean, he's never given like a conventionally amazing performance in anything. Like, you know, he can be, I liked him. He does, he there's stuff you can find with where he is, you know, pretty damn good, but nothing like outstanding. But
he's usually like
really
a fun actor, but I think when has sort of like more limited voice roles, he is able to like tap into the emotional element.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm not knowledgeable enough about acting to like get too deeply into it, but I do think that that's very interesting and very commendable. So, you know, congrats, Vin Diesel. I'm like the 500th person to compliment you on your Iron Giant performance. But hey, but yeah, also yeah. So like Tanner, this is probably my favorite anime movie. Probably my favorite family film. My favorite Superman movie. James Gunn, I have faith in you, but you got big shoes to fill. There, well, literally very big shoes to fill. with this one. Oh damn! I had an idea when I saw this was set in Maine. I had an idea for a bit where I was gonna call one of my roommates who's from Maine and be like, "Hey, is the Iron Giant an accurate depiction of Maine?" But he's at work right now, so I don't want to annoy him, so I won't. I'm crossing that off the list.
Rein, don't worry. I've never been to Maine, but I can tell you, having never been there, I'm 99% confident it is an accurate depiction of Maine. Name one fucking thing that happens in Maine. Name one person from Maine. You can't.
Yeah,
your coworker doesn't count.
So yeah, alongside. All right. I almost feel like there's not even it's hard to even talk about the actual Iron Giant because he's so perfect. I'm more, like I mentioned before, I'm more of a fantasy guy than a sci-fi guy, but my exception is for cute robots. It's always been, I love robots. I don't know why it is, but I think they're great, and I think it's even better when they're adorable, like in this example here. Yeah, so much character, but even outside of him, I think, it's a great supporting cast in general. From the government guy, he's like, great job at, like, being someone you just, like, love to hate. The cool beatnik guy, how can you not love him? I guess if I had one complaint about this movie, it would maybe be that I think it's a stretch, because I think he works for the story. It's less of a situation of it doesn't work as much as like it would have been nice if it would have been better. Is that I think the Hogarth, the main character, he's a little bit too much. I wish he would have been. He's kind of just like your standard kid protagonist in like a family adventure film. Like he's kind of, I can't really think of any way to describe him that sets him apart from that mold. But again, it's not really. I think it works for the. It's fine for the story they're doing, but I don't know, if you were to like going to interrogate me for any complaints, I guess that would be it. All right, has a few. Oh yeah, as a child, because one of my favorite movies as a kid too. I was livid when I found out this never got a sequel. Like at the end when he's coming back together, it's like, what? They're not doing another one.
I'm surprised they haven't tapped that well yet.
Yeah.
Seems like lately, this seems like the kind of thing that they would be like, 2 Iron, 2 Giant.
That leads me, I have more thoughts, but I will, my last thought I will share right now is I am very furious that this, like, beautiful movie about, like, anti-violence and how we can be more than what, like, we're programmed to be, literally or figuratively. Beautiful, like, a beautiful message, beautifully told, but Jesus Christ, why is every time this character brought back up, it's to shit on that theme via, the VR movie, Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. I'm looking at my Blu-ray copy right now.
Damn it, Tanner. And then also that like Warner Brothers Smash Brothers game where he's like a playable character. Yeah, Multiverses, where I feel like it should be a war crime to include Iron Giant in anything where he's like fighting and it's supposed to be fun and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, amazing movie. No complaints. I only gave it 9 out of 10 on Letterboxd, or I guess 4.5 stars on Letterboxd because I'm a curmudgeon. But you know, I love it. Love it. Maybe my favorite movie we talked about on the podcast. Now I think about it. I'd have to think about that, but I don't want to because it's back to Tanner to talk and not.
You can give RRR 5 stars.
That's true. That's a toughie between those two.
Both amazing movies for very different reasons. It's fun you talk about, you touch on the sequel stuff, because there is a sequel novel called The Iron Woman. And I guess I might as well get my out of the way. The Iron Man book is incredibly different from the movie. Like the climax of the book revolves around a giant space alien dragon coming to Earth, and the Iron Giant intentionally letting himself be disassembled, shipped to Australia, put back together because he still has that magic put back together ability thing. And he basically tells the dragon, all right, you stand by the fucking sun, I stand here on Earth, and we'll do 3 rounds of this shit where you just keep blowing fire at me. And if you get more hurt than me, you have to leave. And if I get more hurt, you get to eat everybody. The book is fucking insane. It is a fucking insane book. Yeah, let's this movie. Wow, this movie. In the it's funny, it's gonna come out after this, but we recently recorded something on the SpongeBob movie where I said the SpongeBob movie is maybe my favorite animated movie, and then I rewatched the Iron Giant since then and go, what the fuck was I thinking? No, of course the Iron Giant is my favorite animated movie for all the obvious reasons. It's pretty funny. All of the characters are extremely lovable. The performances across the board are fantastic. It is gorgeously animated. It is still, to this day, maybe the pinnacle of blending traditional 2D animation with CG animation. It still might be the best any movie has ever done that.
Yeah.
All systems go! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1! Blast off!
One of the most perfectly paced movies I have ever seen. Every time I watch this movie, I get halfway through the 3rd act and then as when I go, oh shit, we're in the 3rd act right now. God damn, that's crazy because it's just totally sucks you in. It's incredible that Brad Bird made his masterpiece right off the bat, because by God did he. But for me, as I grow old, I love this movie as a kid because, woo, giant robot. You know,
True.
a very, very easy reason. It's a valid reason to love a movie as a kid. It's the same reason why, it's the same rationale I, as an adult, love Pacific Rim.
True.
Ooh, giant robot. The people of the world yearn for Mecca. But as an adult, the thing I find myself coming to back to for this over and over again is the themes of anti-violence, the themes of, you know, self-determination. You don't have to be what people tell you you need to be. Specifically the thesis at the film from Brad Bird, which is, like I said, it's so simple. I mean, Brad Bird specifically says, what if a gun had a soul and it didn't want to be a gun, but it'd be so much more simply summed up. Like you said earlier, Tim, what if a gun didn't want to be a gun?
Yeah.
And that resonates with me personally, because one of the most, like, I think all of us, like, when there's a certain news event that happens when you're a kid that seems to have a tremendous impact on you for the rest of your life. For a lot of people a little older than me, that event was 9/11.
Yep.
Tim, I'm sure that's what it was for you.
Yeah.
Rein, you're about my age, so maybe what I'm about to say will be the TV event for you too. Quote unquote TV event that feels like a disaster that gets talked about on the TV. But for me, it was December of 2012. It was maybe the last week or two before finals in my freshman year of high school. And as I'm about to go to school that morning, some news reports on the East Coast from Connecticut start coming through, specifically a town called Newtown, Connecticut. December 14th, 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut, at Sandy Hook Elementary, a 20-year-old man went into that elementary school, killed 26 people, 20 of them being victims between the ages of 6 and 7. Rein, maybe that's the big event that kind of shaped your worldview for a long time after. That's what it was for me. And the reason I bring that up, I don't just bring up school shootings because I think it's funny or something. They're not. I bring this up because ever since that day, that kind of led to a lot of my quote unquote left-wing radicalization politics, but more specifically, the one stance I have held consistently since that day when I was 14 years old until now is that I think guns are a blight on society. I think weapons in general are a massive blight on society. I think while yes, mankind has a tendency to be violent, we have enabled those tendencies by creating these weapons. And I think the messaging of what if a gun didn't want to be a gun? What if a gun didn't have to be a gun? I think resonates quite powerfully to me as someone who is so virulently anti-gun. That type of anti-violence messaging really rings true to me, especially as it's been almost 12 years now We have had 3 presidents in office since that shooting, and this problem still fucking exists. The Uvalde Elementary School from what was that, last year or 2 years ago? There was that one in Georgia. That was a Georgia high school near the beginning of the year, just a few months ago. That was a pretty big news story one. There was the one in Florida. Name of the school escapes me because there have been so many fucking shootings at schools that it's hard to remember. So I think the Iron Giant and its messaging about anti-gun, anti-violence messaging, I think resonates incredibly powerfully, especially with the key change it makes, the most key change it makes from the book, going from the antagonist being evil space wizard dragon to the US government. I think makes the anti-violence critiques hit a little harder, because I think we all agree here, and I think even maybe some of the more, if we have any, even the more conservative members of our audience would agree that I think the US government and governments across the world kind of enable this type of violence amongst citizens a lot of the time. Regardless of your opinions on gun control, I think we can all agree that the government doesn't do a good job of protecting its citizens from this shit, and sort of enabling this through policy. And I think the movie showing the government, like, explicitly, it is not the entire government, because like most of the military is like, we can't nuke a town, and then there's just, it's just the one bad apple thing, but essentially it is the government that is the villain of this movie, which is so fascinating given Brad Bird's flirtation with Randy and ideology, especially in The Incredibles. But rings really true. In the 12 years since Sandy Hook, not a fucking thing has changed. In the 25 years since The Iron Giant came out, not a fucking thing has changed. In the 70 plus years since the time period The Iron Giant takes place, not a fucking thing has changed. Guns and violence in America is just as bad. And I think the anti-gun messaging, the anti-violence messaging, what if a gun didn't want to be a gun? What if a killer didn't want to be a killer messaging really rings true. But I'm kind of running out of steam here, so we're going to go to a brief ad break before we bring it back with some general discussion. See you in a minute. Bye! Hi! Welcome from that commercial break to another commercial. See that shit behind me? Right there, not the man-child pop shelf, but the actually nice-looking art piece between the shelves. That right there is a movie palette, and if you look over Tim's shoulder, you can see one for the movie Mandy. The one behind me is for a movie called Punch Drunk Love. And you can get one of your own of this palette that essentially slices up these primary colors of every frame of your favorite movie, slices it all up, puts it all in a row for a really nice minimalistic art piece that kind of fits in any living space. If you have a more minimalist style, it works. If you have a more maximalist style like me, it works. So go on, find your favorite movie, find one for The Iron Giant, which I don't have a photo of it right now, but I'm sure it exists and I'm sure it's beautiful. You can add it to your cart, but before you check out, enter the code SQUAD15 to save 15% on your order. All right, thank you. Now back to the show. All right, The Iron Giant general discussion. I fucking brought the shit out of the mood down with my review, so I'm gonna let one of you two boys open up general discussion.
Okay, so but before recording, I had actually earlier today, earlier today, I watched a making of documentary for The Iron Giant, which is where I got a lot of my tidbits. And there were some fun little moments in there. Like at one point they were showing some of the actors in the booth, like Harry Connick Jr. Doing his stuff, and Christopher McDonald doing some acting, and then just cuts to Vin Diesel eating a sandwich into the microphone. Just extremely funny to me. They also showed the rap party at one point, and Brad Bird makes a little announcement. He's just like, I made this fucking amazing movie, and Disney's coming out with Tarzan in 2 weeks. And they started months before us. They had so much more crew, and they're coming out after us because they're pussies. Just very good.
The real unfortunate shame of the Iron Giant is that it came out the same day as The Sixth Sense.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
That's what really killed its box office.
I see dead box office.
Basically, The Sixth Sense made $700-something million, I think, worldwide. Remember when movies for adults could do that?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
look up the
theoretically,
exact box office and ruin the mood. Go ahead, Rein.
I was going to say, theoretically, that's not a terrible business decision since there's such different audiences, technically. I don't see too many families bringing their kids to see Sixth Sense, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the problem is just Warner Brothers did not market this movie. Like, I remember seeing the trailer for it on a tape as a kid. I want to say it was Pokemon the first movie. It might have been like Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. I don't remember for sure what movie. It was some Warner Brothers thing. I remember seeing the trailer and thinking that looked cool, but like it was the 2000 aughts, so the only way I was gonna watch a movie was if my parents were gonna buy the movie or if I found it at Blockbuster. So I just didn't end up watching it until like early adulthood. But yeah, like at one point, like when they were getting to like after it came out, like Brad Bird went to go see it at a LA movie theater, and he gets there and the marquee has like all the movies with their nice little posters with their specific fonts correlating to the movie. Then the Iron Giant is just like literally a piece of paper taped to the wall.
Hell yeah.
Hell no, that shit sucks.
Fucking beautiful, dudes rock. I hate it here. Can we talk about, I mean, Tim touches on it, I think Rein touches on it briefly, but can we just talk about how fucking great Vin Diesel is in this?
He's very good.
It's honestly difficult to imagine anyone else voicing the Iron Giant. But if I may, would you like to hear some of the names that were considered?
Let's go.
Go ahead.
Peter Cullen, who you may know best as the voice of Optimus fucking Prime.
Peter Cullen is like the only other person I could see maybe doing a good job.
Sean Connery, which I love him Connery, but no, I do not think the Iron Giant should have had that obvious an accent.
I'm Superman.
Just imagine him going, Superman. That version of the Iron Giant is also a raging misogynist.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Iron Giant would show it, but he would. Frank Welker, who is Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime, Frank Welker's Megatron. And finally, I don't know how maybe they went back on this because they thought it would cost too much. Because if you can get this guy, it seems weird that you wouldn't get him unless you're trying to save money. James Earl fucking Jones was considered for the part of the Iron Giant. But you know what? Hot take, dare I say? I still think Vin Diesel was the best choice. There's just something, there's just a quality about his voice. I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that this is going to sound like an insult, but I mean it like a compliment. Vin Diesel, just the way his voice sounds, he already kind of sounds like a robot.
Yeah, and like James Earl Jones, I think would have been good, but I think there's just like he was too wizened. Like he had too much life experience. Vin Diesel was fairly young when they did this movie, and like the character is supposed to have this sort of childlike innocence. So I think he's perfect for it. Peter Cullen could have been good. That actually would have been an interesting choice. That would have been my second choice maybe, but I think it's Vin. It's got to be Vin.
Vin would have been like 30 when he was recording his lines for this movie.
Yeah,
because he was born in 1967. Yeah, it's kind of impressive how Vin Diesel has, I think, Rein, you touched upon this, he has two different roles where he's known for not talking much, and everyone seems to agree those are his best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is extra funny because he's an actor who's not known for like being he's otherwise known for just being like kind of a big silly action star. Otherwise, he's not known for being like a thespian. Although one thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to make sure I was on Google earlier making sure I had the title right. While we're talking about Vin Diesel, anyone who's like doubting he can give a good performance, I implore you watch this short film he did called Multifacial. He directed it and starred in it, and like it's maybe one of my favorite short films, which isn't saying too much. I guess I haven't seen nearly as many of those as I have feature films, but like it's a great like demonstration of his acting ability and also like a good commentary on being a ethnically ambiguous actor, stuff like that. But yeah,
It's fantastic.
And with Vin Diesel, I think what it is with this performance, there's two things I want to say. First, I think it's like he has a very heavy voice, a lot of gravitas, but at the same time, he can still come off kind of like a child, like just like someone with a blank slate, and which is what this performance needs. And the other thing is, pretty much all the actors. My hot take here is I don't think any of them would have been a bad choice for the role. Like I think they probably all been fine, fine to pretty good, very good even, especially. But Vin was the right choice. Easy to say in hindsight. But I think it seems like the sort of role. Again, I'm not an actor. I feel like Tanner would have something more interesting to say about this. But I think when it comes to a role like this and like Groot and stuff, it's like it's probably easy. It's probably not too hard to like completely fuck up a role like this where you're just only saying a few words. But it's got to be. So on the one hand, it's easy to not completely screw up, but it's going to be really hard to actually like nail it and actually in that tiny amount of time to actually really make really memorable, impactful lines out of what little scraps you get, kind of.
It takes a lot of skill as an actor to convey, especially as a voice actor, to convey so much with so little. At least as an actor on the screen, you can cheat, quote unquote, by using facial expressions. A lot of good cinema actors, use micro expressions a lot to really push feeling. Tom Cruise being an excellent example of an actor that uses micro expressions perfectly. But Vin Diesel has excellent command of his voice. And it is not easy to, push the emotion out. Like if you close your eyes in that scene where the Iron Giant's horrified after he accidentally shoots at Hogarth, if you close your eyes, you can still hear the horror, the shame, and the disgust in his voice. You don't even need to see the obvious horror and shame and disgust in his face, but if you close your eyes, you can hear it. And he has maybe 10 words to express that with. It's really impressive.
Get back! I said get back! I mean it!
No, stop. Boy.
Yeah, I will say this does remind me. There was like a featurette that came out when season 5 of Samurai Jack was coming out, and at one point Phil Lamar just goes, "I love playing Jack. He's the easiest character. He's got 4 lines per episode. Like some guy will just come up and do the big exposition thing and just go, 'I see. I will find him,' and then I'm done." So it's like one of those things where, on one hand, it is relatively simple to do, but also hard to do right. Like you said, there's a lot of emotion you have to kind of put into that performance with what little you're actually saying.
So, I hate to bring up politics, but...
Do you, though?
I love to bring up politics. I'm pretty convinced that if I could get it in a room alone with him for half an hour, I could convince, honestly, 2 people. I think I could convince both Joe Biden and Donald Trump that the events of this movie happened. I'm pretty confident I could convince both of them of that. Just give me like a half hour in a room alone with them, and I'm pretty sure I can convince Donald Trump that the US government almost nuked a coastal city in Maine not even a coastal city, a coastal town in Maine because of some weird Iron Giant alien, and Trump would be like, well, where is it now? Just imagine Trump being like, the late great Iron Giant.
We let him know.
He's in Antarctica, folks.
One random thing I noticed rewatching this is not the government agent guy, but the general guy. Surprisingly, a chill guy, I guess. He was ready to call off the whole invasion thing with Iron Giant when he saved the kids. And even after the events of the movie, he's like, hey, this piece of alien technology, instead of us keeping it, I'm just gonna let the kid have it, because that's just nice, you know? That
is the most 1950s ass thing about this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's actually a fairly accurate representation of how actual like military leadership people act. Like once you get into like proper like above a major level type shit, most high-ranking military officials, as a rule, don't like war that much. Don't like violence and fighting that much. If you're able to get that far in the military, which, you know, I don't want to get into a whole spiel about whether or not it's ethical to be in the military and anti-militarism, blah, 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 blah. Traditionally, you don't like war, you don't like violence, so it would make sense. And I also think it's fascinating considering in the 1990s, this wouldn't be such the forefront of your mind, but I think it's a pretty accurate reflection that I think Kent Mansley, if you want to be obvious, I kind of get the idea that he's like a CIA agent. Some people would say FBI. No, I don't think the FBI investigates crimes. The CIA is the one that goes, I think some weird shit is happening.
Enormous beast, yeah. Biggest thing in this town is probably the homecoming queen. Oh my God!
He comes off as a total member of the intelligence community, which makes the whole bomb it thing incredibly accurate to the average member of the intelligence apparatus. We're talking about the same fucking organization that came up with the coke-brained idea to sell guns to Iran to fund rebels in Nicaragua in the 80s. I totally butchered the pronunciation of that country, and I don't care. I do care, I'm sorry. But the CIA is a total coke brain, so I 100% believe that the CIA would nuke the robot, if only because they couldn't get it for themselves.
Fun fact, with MK Ultra, if I remember right, one of the stories with that is like at like some sort of CIA function thing, they actually like spiked their own punch bowl or something, and like there was a warning, like, hey, don't drink from the punch bowl. Like they were like, on top of just being evil, they were also just like a lot of times like big, just total frat bros when it came to handling stuff like that. So yeah, not shocking that this character would do something like that.
Which, side note, first off, that is 100% true. The CIA did spike their own fucking punch bowl one time. Secondly, you bring up MK Ultra, and every time this gets brought up, I have to bring up the fact that, like, if you described MK Ultra to someone who didn't know about it, they would assume you were a crazy conspiracy theorist making shit up. But that fucking shit actually happened. An arm and an apparatus of the United States government drugged its own citizens with LSD to try and figure out mind control technology. The 1950s and 60s were a very interesting time in America. Let's just say that. God damn, that Cold War, baby.
Yeah.
One thing about this movie that I think we haven't really talked about is the score. The score is incredible.
Yeah. Good score.
Especially, and Brad Bird specifically praises the composer for his ability to kind of effortlessly weave between these tense emotional sequences and these lighthearted sequences and these like sense of exploration sequences. It's pretty well done.
Yeah, it's a great score. There's a lot of heart in there, and it's perfect for the movie. There's a thing in the documentary where it was like they finished the movie and he finally sees the teaser that Warner Brothers put out for it, and it's like this 30-second spot with just fucking butt rock under it, just like the Iron Giant. He's like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit? This is what they're doing to my movie.
That is very 1999. Oh, wait, do you remember what song it was?
No.
What 1999 band, butt rock band, would be the funniest to pair with the Iron Giant? Hold on. I need to check something. I'm doing some research. This is very important. Okay, good. Creed was around in 1999.
There we go.
Just imagine the Iron Giant going upwards to take on the nuke, and you just hear, "With arms wide open,
Can you take me higher?
higher." Or alternatively, I don't think they were around then, but Nickelback, also very funny option, especially if you pick like right as he's about to hit the nuke, just fucking. God, what would be the funniest Nickelback song?
So he's it's Kent Mansley looking at the pictures, and it's going, "Look at this photograph!"
As he's about to hit the nuke, "This is how you remind me." Rain's just like in torture. I know Rain hates this fucking post-grunge alternative, the dry fart of the grunge movement ass music.
It's not
You're
great.
wrong.
On a happier note, though, something that was kind of neat about this was this was like the movie that pioneered doing previs and After Effects. It was just like Brad Bird going, "Hey, there's this cheap little program. We can put our storyboards in here, and doop doop doop. Everything's fucking animated, and everybody's like, holy fucking shit, it's magic." So that was cool. They pioneered doing previs and After Effects. Like late into production, one of the crew members like sneaked a tape of like the rough cut so far that still had like storyboards and stuff on it, sent it to somebody at Ain't It Cool News, because it's just like, I need to make it so people will hear about this movie because Warner Brothers isn't doing shit with it. So like they sent them this unfinished rough cut of the movie with animatics and everything still in it, and they were still like, "This is fucking incredible, holy shit." So like even just an animatic cut of the movie was just like making people cry and shit their pants in 1999. That's how powerful this movie is.
So, this movie takes place in 1957, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if Hogarth is 9 years old, that means he was born in 1948, which means as of 2024, he would be 76 years old, which, yes, is 5 years younger than the current president of the United States.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so glad that Trump is old so I can keep making fucking this old ass motherfucker younger than the president jokes.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I can still do that.
Yeah.
Until in 2 years when like Trump dies of a fucking Big Mac induced artery clog and JD Vance becomes president. Fun fact about JD Vance, the JD stands for Jorkin to penis.
True. Many such cases.
Just had to throw that out there. Just had to throw out there for the Iron Giant podcast. Bomb Squad Productions, the only place where you can get insightful commentary about the Iron Giant tied into the disaster that was the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting, and also dick jokes about JD Vance's name.
Yeah.
We're a channel that contains multitudes.
True.
Truly.
So, like, where do you guys think the Iron Giant comes from?
Space. The one touch on was untouched by capitalism.
Well, yes, of course. Rain?
I don't
you
care.
also just gonna say space? I don't give a
I
shit
could not
where
care
it's
less.
from. That's fine. I'm just trying to make conversation. No, I'm gonna be honest. For the past 15 minutes, I've been desperately resisting the temptation to ask you guys the question of how do you think Donald Trump would handle this situation if he was president in this exact situation. But you know, fuck it. How do you guys? I kind of want to know.
He just
I
don't
wanna-
go full Kent Mansley.
I don't feel confident in this
Nuke
answer.
the bot.
I don't feel confident in the Sandstorm, but my hunch is he would want to like, he'd be like, oh, well, I want to go see it first before like we do anything.
100%. He would be, even though every member of the Secret Service and like the entire like Army Chief of Staff is telling him, sir, please stay in the fucking bunker. He's like, I want to see the robot. I would like to see the robot.
Guys, I'm going to see the robot.
And he gets into fucking Marine One or some shit because there's no way they could get Air Force One anywhere close. But like he would fucking, like he would override the fucking Secret Service. It would lead to a Kennedy situation, as Kennedy famously overruled like most of the Secret Service's safety suggestions the day he was assassinated. Trump would probably die because he really wanted to meet the Iron Giant. Or he would get there right as he's taking off and be like, wow, look at that. Look at that S on his chest. It's like he's Superman. I came up with that. We'll tell him he was Superman. We're going to tell the folks that the Superman was American. You know, since the ending of this movie does explicitly show the Iron Giant lives, what do you guys think, like, it's never going to happen, or unfortunately it will happen with someone other than Brad Bird at the helm. What does a sequel to the Iron Giant look like, you think?
I guess the most realistic version is kind of your run-of-the-mill soft sequel reboot thing where soft reboot where it's like the same town probably, and then like the Hogarth is there, is played by some old man actor, and the Iron Giant, he's finally come back together, and then it follows a new kid, like Hogarth's grandkid or something, and they go on a new adventure that's pretty similar, with a pretty similar plot to the last movie. I'm sure there are interesting directions you could take a sequel. I don't think it's inherently a bad idea, but yeah, I'm not confident. Again, with all this, I swear to God, if they do it and they give him like action scenes, I'm gonna be livid.
That is the worst thing they could do. Let's be honest, what would actually happen is that it would be announced as a straight to streaming HBO Max, just Max original miniseries that's announced to have 12 episodes, eventually becomes 7 episodes, premieres to so-so reviews, but it becomes a bit of a cult classic. However, it's unfortunately removed from Max after 5 months and is never seen again because for tax reasons.
Hated here.
That's the actual most realistic outcome. Is streaming service original removed after less than a year.
Yeah, I don't know how you could make an interesting sequel. Like, if Brad Bird was attached, I'm sure he could figure it out. But I don't know. It just feels too complete for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a perfect movie. It has a perfect beginning, middle, and end. And yeah, there's a sequel bait hook at the end, but like, I just not a clear, obvious way to take a sequel from here. And unfortunately, Brad Bird is too busy making The Incredibles 3 for some fucking reason. So he's probably not going to be working on an Iron Giant 2 anytime soon.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even call it sequel bait as much as just, hey, he's alive. It's okay. Happy ending.
Stop crying.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, me as an adult, Ethan brought this up in the group chat, how when I saw the Iron Giant in theaters a year ago with him, he had to like fucking comfort me because I was full on breakdown, ugly crying in the movie theater.
He's having a moment.
He said Superman, and I started going like I was fucking a mess, and Ethan had to be like, shh, it's okay, like patting me on the back and shit. Like he was comforting me like I just saw a relative die. I don't know why it hit me so bad in that moment.
It's true. The Iron Giant is actually the Iron Giant Kraft, your great grandfather.
I should have known. I should have fucking known. I miss him so bad.
You did mention that Brad Bird has Incredibles 3 in production. He also in production has a movie called Ray Gun, which was what he was originally pitching to studios before he made The Iron Giant, and just could not get any traction with it when he went to Warner Brothers. They kind of made it very clear early on they weren't interested in making that. So I'm glad that he's finally able to make that. It's supposed to be coming out in 2026, so we'll see.
He actually got somebody to fucking finally fund Ray Gun?
Apparently.
I never heard of this one.
He's been trying to make this shit for 30 years. What the fuck? I can't believe he's finally making it.
Did it.
Okay.
The crazy son of a bitch did it.
Well, between that and his 1906 earthquake movie, he hasn't made a movie in 6 years.
Yeah,
Tomorrowland?
Oh no, Incredibles 2.
No, Incredibles 2.
Oh yeah,
So-
Incredibles 2.
The Iron Giant to The Incredibles is 5 years. Incredibles to Ratatouille is 3. Ratatouille to Ghost Protocol is 4. Ghost Protocol to Tomorrowland is 4. Tomorrowland to Incredibles 2 is 3 years. So it's been 6 years since Brad Bird made a movie, and it looks like we'll be waiting another 2.
I'll say one other thing about Brad Bird while we're talking about him is it is interesting. I don't know too many other directors who have like a significant like whose filmography includes live action and animated works. At least not like like there's like ones where it's like, oh yeah, some of my major movies are live action, and also some of my major movies are also animated. You might find like a animation director. It's like, oh yeah, I made this like low budget live action thing right after college or something like that. But like I can't think of another example of a director, like I said, that does them both.
Ralph Bakshi is the only other one that comes to my mind.
That's a different thing where it's like that's a whole other thing. I'm saying like where it's just like, oh, I made straight live action movies, major straight live action movies. I also made major straight animated movies.
The only major example I can think of in the studio system anyway is Brad Bird. I think it's not too uncommon to see a guy that's traditionally a live action director take a crack at an animated project. That feels more common than the reverse, at least in the studio system, for some reason.
Bumblebee's a
but I think like at least Brad Bird is the best one that has made the only one I can think of that has truly made a genuinely great animated movie and a genuinely great live action movie. Ghost Protocol is still my favorite Mission Impossible.
If we want to include people outside of America, Mamoru Oshii has made a lot of. He's an anime director who has also made a handful of live action movies. The live action stuff's weird, but he has made a fair bit of it.
Oh, sorry. I googled directors who have done both, and I'm immediately being blasted with some pretty like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I know the most famous animated movie this director's associated with wasn't directed by him, but Tim Burton did direct Frankenweenie and The Corpse Bride. Another good prominent example of actually how I was saying how it's more common for live action to do animation than vice versa. Travis Knight.
Yeah, I bet
he directed movies like Kubo and the Two Strings. He also directed the Bumblebee movie. Guys, we're idiots. George Miller.
Oh yeah.
Well, and again,
also,
isn't
Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm staring at these answers and I'm like, oh, duh. But here's the thing. George Miller, Wes Anderson, they are traditionally considered to be live action directors first.
Right, that's what I was
also
gonna
happen
say.
to make animated movies. Brad Bird is the only prominent one in the studio system I can think of that started in animation and then went to live action.
Tim Burton started in animation, but most of his work has been live action.
And the guy that directed Lilo and Stitch and the first How to Train Your Dragon movie, I hear, is directing the live action How to Train Your Dragon, but also maybe that shouldn't count. Mike Judge, but that's kind of a weird case.
Yeah, he's directed mostly animated stuff, but then a couple of live action movies.
They're trying to tell me Gore Verbinski is a great example of this. He made Rango. He made a animated movie. Shut up. They're trying to tell me the Farrelly brothers because they made Osmosis Jones. All right, that's a fucking enough of this bullshit. It's pissing me off. Who the hell is Chris Wedge?
He's a guy from Star Wars.
Oh, because the Ice Age guy directed that shitty Monster Trucks movie 8 years ago. He counts? Sure. Whatever.
Tim, I got that joke, Tim.
Yeah, Rein gets it.
Anyway, I'm sorry. The point being is that there are plenty of live action directors that go on to make a bunch of great animated movies like Wes Anderson. But the only examples I can think of guys that start in animation, are critically acclaimed in animation, and then go on to make a live action movie at all are Brad Bird and Travis Knight. Which makes it all the funnier that Travis Knight's foray into live action is compared to The Iron Giant for very obvious reasons. That being that Bumblebee and the Iron Giant are both cool giant robots.
That's true. And they're both baby. That's also important.
That is true. Bumblebee is baby girl. Final thoughts?
Yeah.
All right, Rein, final thoughts on the Iron Giant.
I love it. And if you also don't love it, you're a terrible person.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tim, final thoughts.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's fantastic. This is a movie that didn't get its proper flowers until it came to home video, but I'm glad it's being celebrated now by not only critics but by fans. My cousin who works in animation, this is definitely a movie that was influential for him. It's inspiring new generations of animators and just fans of animation. It's an incredibly important film. This movie that I remember waiting a while for a Blu-ray release, but eventually they put out a signature edition Blu-ray release, and most Blu-rays I've noticed have been pretty bare bones unless you're getting from a boutique seller. But the Blu-ray for the Iron Giant is jam-packed with stuff. So it's a good Blu-ray. Definitely check it out because this shit ain't streaming anywhere apparently. But it's definitely worth the purchase if you still have a player. Definitely check it out. Back to you, Tanner.
The signature version of the Blu-ray also features the signature edition version of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is a slightly different cut. Not too different, but if you do want to check out the signature edition version of the Iron Giant, but don't want to shell out for the Blu-ray, you can. I had the option to do this. I went with the original theatrical cut, but you can rent both the original The Iron Giant and the signature edition on Amazon Prime home video. You can rent either version if you want. So if you're interested in checking out the signature edition, you can. It's maybe a scene or two is added. And also the scene where him and the Hand are watching TV is changed to a Disney World commercial, I think, which is what he originally wanted. The Iron Giant is my favorite animated movie ever. It's easy to forget because sometimes I'll go on and think, oh, maybe I like Spirited Away more. Maybe I like the SpongeBob movie more. Maybe I like Grave of the Fireflies more. But then you rewatch it and you come home and you realize, no, it's hard to do better than this. This is not just my favorite animated movie. It's probably in my top 10 favorite movies ever made. It's a masterpiece. Well, what more can you say? But you know who else is a masterpiece?
Who's that?
You, the person watching / listening.
You gotta get a new Tanner again.
You, the person watching / listening to this episode of Bomb Squad Matinee. Thank you oh so very much for tuning in. If you are listening on any of the audio platforms we're on, thank you oh so very much for listening. Go ahead and leave us a review. It boosts us in the algorithm or something. I don't know if that's true. I just work here. If you are listening on those platforms, how about you mosey on down over to our Patreon, where the $5 tier gets you access to commentary tracks. We're going to be recording one later this week with me, Rein, and Joe V. So that should be a lot of fun. That'll be releasing sometime this month, that commentary track. So you can get that on the $5 tier and on the $10 tier. you can get a little shout out at the end of every podcast. So, Mr. Jason Secord, thank you so much for your reoccurring $10 contribution. And Tanya Kraft, my mom, thank you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you oh so very much for watching. We really appreciate it. How about you mosey on down over to the comment section below and let us know, what do you think of The Iron Giant? What's your favorite Brad Bird movie? What's your favorite animated movie? What would a sequel to The Iron Giant look like? And finally, how do you think this theoretical Donald Trump presidency would handle the Iron Giant situation? Comment below and let me know in exquisite detail, please. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit the like button so we know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so we know how much you love us. And hit the bell icon so you can know exactly when we upload new videos. Thank you all so very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye!
Superman.
Superman.
Just slid my ticket across the table and I said, sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl.